trying to look here at my computer screen to just see if we have started. So right now it looks like we are active and we are in the live stream. So thank you everybody. Just gonna write here, ask me anything about the S1H. So everybody, welcome to my first live stream. Well, as I said, it's not actually my first live stream because I've done it a couple of times and I haven't been too successful so far. Let's see, I think actually I'm active right now. Let's see if my friend Ted is gonna send me a message and see how it works. Kolla nu kompis. Let's see if it is working this time. But yeah, so this Q&A about the Panasonic S1H is gonna be, let's see here, you can see that I have the camera. I am streaming through this whole thing with the Blackmagic 18 Mini Pro. I am shooting this on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and here I have the Blackmagic Pocket 6K. So I am doing that on the Blackmagic cameras. As I said, this live stream is gonna be about one of my favorite cameras of all time, the Panasonic S1H, and what it can do for you. Now I have asked on my YouTube for people to ask me questions. Oh, hi Ted, you you can see me, so nice. So finally the stream seems to be working, and I have some questions and some things that I do want to talk about when it comes to the Panasonic S1H, and a few people have asked me to compare it to the Panasonic GH5, which is probably one of the cameras that throughout the 10 years that I've been shooting, this is probably the camera that I've been using the most, and that's a good thing. And I've only had it for 3 years, or the time that this camera has been out. So let's look at the questions now. Mostly wondering, this is from Tucker with the Horan Media. Mostly wondering if it has the same run and gun ability. I've never had anything that works with me faster than the Panasonic GH5. Well, Tucker, I would say that the Panasonic S1H and the GH5 are basically the same type of camera, and for run and gunners this is a really nice camera. They work in very similar ways. The button layouts are quite similar. They're not exactly similar. There are some changes on the Panasonic S1H, some that are good, some that are, well, a little bit strange. And like one of the things that I really like about the Panasonic GH5 is that if you want to unlock your lens and remove your lens, you have that button on the left side. On the Panasonic, I'm just gonna see here if you can see that on the S1H, you have it on this part, and there you also have two other buttons that I like to program. So that's a thing that a lot of the time I press the wrong button when I'm trying to get out the lens. Now the lens mount, let's go back to the lens mount on the S1H, and like the L-mount alliance, as they call it, is very secure, I would say. I mean, it's very firm and it sits wonderfully. The GH5 is also good, but it's not as sturdy as the S1H. Let's look at the question one more time, because I think there was something. Okay, run and gunning. Well, these cameras are both very good for that, because they do have great IBIS, which is fantastic. And for the Panasonic S1H, with that bigger sensor, to have basically the same type of IBIS that the GH5 has is very nice. We have seen competitors to Panasonic that have the similar size of sensor, but they try to do the IBIS very good, and most of the time they have failed. So it's really nice to see Panasonic doing a good job there with the IBIS, and I would say that it is on par with the Panasonic GH5. Now, when it comes to running and gunning, for me, one thing is very important. At least if I want to have a small setup, as I tend to do with this type of cameras, it is to have a very good EVF. And the EVF on the Panasonic S1H is so nice. It's probably one of the best. Well, I wouldn't say one of the best, because there are dedicated EVFs that cost more than this camera alone. So, but for this type of camera, at least for me, I haven't seen an EVF that is as good as the Panasonic S1H. Also, the peaking is for me a little bit more accurate than on the GH5. So yeah, when it comes to running and gunning, it's really important to have like a setup that you really like to hold on to. And here you see me with the Tilta cage for the Panasonic S series. Now this Tilta cage is very nice, but it's like a hybrid cage, and it works for all the S1 series cameras, so both the S1, S1R, and this camera. And for all of you that know, we know that, let's see here on the other angle, that the Panasonic S1H is a little bit thicker than those two other cameras, and it has a top screen that is a little bit larger. So this cage could actually be better made, because it does obstruct some parts of the camera. One of the things that really bother me is actually the left knob here. It's really hard to see when you are which mode you're in. So, but the good things here, you have a really nice and firm top handle. And top handles, I'm a big fan of them, because you can, like, in any situation, you can always relax and hold your camera on the top handle, and here you, of course, you can take it away. You also have like the wrist strap, which is, I mean, the wrist strap is, I've almost forgotten how good it is to have a wrist strap. And yes, I'm probably going to get the wrist strap for all of my cages now. So the Tilta cage is a really nice cage, but there are some things to think about. If I was building up a system if I was using this camera for more than running and gunning, and I would like to have like a bigger system, I would probably go with the SmallRig cage, because the SmallRig cage has like the part for the XLR1 adapter, and that's really important for me to get really good audio here. Let's see, there are some questions coming in here. Nice to see you, Ted. Malmo Motion Pictures. Wow, I am watching you. Thank you, Malmo Motion Pictures. So for all of you that don't know, I actually get this question quite a lot. People think that for some reason that we are not in Sweden, but we are in Sweden, and we are at VooStore. So right now I'm in the studio, and in a room called Siberia, and doing this live stream. So we're in Malmo, Sweden, and doing this with the black magic item. Yeah, Malmo Motion Pictures. We're actually, I don't know. Yeah, I can see that I am actually streaming on the Blackmagic Atom Mini Pro, and it works perfectly. I have done a few tries here, but yeah, it works perfectly. Nick Pixel TV Arbor, how are you doing? I'm doing very nice. I haven't been on, I think you, Nick, did write to me the other day when I posted my latest video. I had been sick. We don't know if it was corona, because in Sweden they don't test people that are like in the younger ages. So thank you for asking, but I'm not sure it was corona, but I was quite sick for almost 3 weeks there, and yeah. So Ted Wayroom, which is a friend of mine, and he's gonna be shooting on this camera a lot. What are the top 3 features of the S1H? Top 3 features. Thank you, Ted, for the question. I would say that the top 3 features are dynamic range is going to be one of them. You can truly see the difference between other types of cameras that are like the DSLR form factor, where the dynamic range is going to be limited. Even if you compare it to the Panasonic GH5, you can many times I think that I've blown out the picture or the image on the Panasonic S1H, and I take it in post, and I can see that, oh my god, there is actually a lot of information on the highlights, and that's the thing that I really appreciate. So dynamic range is one of them. And number 2 is it's actually having the ability to shoot in 120 frames per second in 10-bit, and that's a really good thing. That actually lets you use the Vlog L to shoot, or not the L, just the Vlog to shoot in high frame rates, which is a killer feature, because if you shot in Vlog L on the Panasonic GH5 and you use the 8-bit codec, it would fall apart quite quickly. So that is feature number 2. Feature number 3, there are so many smaller features, but I'm really looking forward to the ProRes Raw update, because I am a Final Cut Pro editor. For all of you who don't know, I used to work for Apple, and I had my job description was creative, so I was like one of the people who learned or teached other people to use the software, and I still use Final Cut Pro, even though I'm diving a little bit into DaVinci Resolve, because I'm also shooting with Blackmagic cameras, as I said before. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Apple ProRes Raw with the Atmos Ninja. So those three things, but there are a lot of small things on this camera that are really, really great, to be honest. I would also want to throw in one other thing. The ability to use USB-C for charging is a killer feature as well. And it lets you take a power bank if you're out and shooting, and charge your camera when you have the time to do that. Tucker, great to be here. Yeah, Tucker, I saw your question before, and I really appreciate that. Long time GH5 user, mostly because of its usability and features. Looking forward to hearing more. Thank you so much, Tucker. If you are a fan of the Panasonic GH5, which I am as well, the Panasonic S1H is, I wouldn't say it's a step up, even though it is. It has like the bigger sensor. It's easier to get that really shallow depth of field, but there are other things that are better on this camera. But the usability is basically the same, even though the S1H is yeah, it's a little bit newer like that. But I would say that these two cameras could live beside each other for a long time. I really love them both. Let's see here. I love the Nick Pixel TV. I love the GH5S. Having thoughts about this new Canon R5 though. Okay, so the R5, it looks like a great camera, and for you who don't know, I started my video career, or if it's a career, I started shooting on the Panasonic, on the Canon 7D. I did buy that camera, and I shot only photography on that until a friend of mine, Johan Hansson in Malmo, he asked me, well, shouldn't we make a short movie? And we did, and after that I was hooked, and we started making a lot of movies. And so that was my first camera, and I think that it's truly sad that Canon has waited so long to like make a really good DSLR. With that said, they do have some specs out there, and they talk about 8K RAW coming out. Let's hope everything seems as it looks, but I'm a little bit careful about all the specs, because we don't know for how long it's gonna be shoot. Is it gonna overheat and all the things like that? But let's hope it will turn out to be a new camera. I still have a lot of love for Canon, even though I'm somewhat of a Panasonic fanboy. Happy to hear you feeling better. Thank you so much for the feedback, Nick. Let's see here. A lot of good questions here, so I'm looking at. Okay, I don't know how. So Tucker, you have a lot of cameras as well. So Tucker is talking about usability, and when it comes to usability, Tucker says that even though he has a lot of cameras, as you have like the Pocket 6K, you have the A7 III, you still go a lot and use the Panasonic GH5 a lot, and I can understand that because it is a great camera. One of the things that I really like with this camera is, and more cameras are doing that, is that they do have 10-bit, they do have great battery life, which is a killer. And the grip for me is also very important. Both of these cameras are very nice to hold. Yeah, let's see what the R5 does. As I said, I'm a little bit careful about that because I've been disappointed by Canon so many times. I did buy the Canon 5D Mark III. I was looking forward to getting the Mark IV, but yeah, you all know what happened there. I'm gonna look at the other questions that I got from on the other side here. Izar wants a comparison between these two, S1H and GH5. Now I'm probably gonna make a video where I shoot this side by side, compare like the Vlog-L to Vlog in different situations, compare the open gate on both of these cameras. I know that there are a lot of people who don't know, but the Panasonic GH5 actually can shoot 5.2K video, which is actually a killer feature. And I'm gonna compare that to this bad boy. Another person actually asked me about to compare the different codecs in the S1H, so I'm gonna do that in a future video as well. But there are some things to think about. Small things that I think that not a lot of people. I'm just gonna change the angle here. On the Panasonic GH5, I am a big fan of the joystick and how it protrudes. I'm not as big a fan of that joystick on the S1H, I'm afraid. A lot of the time it doesn't do what I want it to do. And the same thing here with the AF on button. I use it to use it as a back focus button on the Panasonic GH5. On the S1H, I tend to press the wrong button all of the time, so I have actually changed the AF on button to be where the autofocus mode is, so that's like a small thing. Also, the buttons on the Panasonic GH5 are easier to press because they're a little bit stiffer than the S1H. Now the S1H has a really good button here, or a feature that the Panasonic GH5 hasn't, and it has a locking button. And I don't know if you guys have been through this, but on the Panasonic GH5 it happens so often that I shoot maybe for an hour or so, and I look at the settings and I can see that I am maybe at 210 degrees of shutter speed, or like my f-stop has changed a lot. Here I don't have on the Panasonic S1H, I don't have to worry too much about that because it has the lock button, and once I've locked that, it doesn't change those settings, so that's a great feature. Any feature that you wish the S1H had, or is there something missing in your opinion? Very good question. Is there a feature that we are missing here? Well, of course, you could always ask for more. I would say that it's not a feature that I'm looking for. It's more I'm still waiting for Panasonic to do good by their autofocus claims that it's going to be as good as maybe Canon or Sony when it comes to video, of course, because when it comes to photography, it works more or less perfectly. I'm not shooting sports, so for me that doesn't matter. I wish they also did like the IAF that the other competitors are doing, but the autofocus maybe is one of those things. Because we are getting RAW very soon, that would probably be one of the features that I really would love to have on this camera, but it is coming, even though we have to get an Atomos Ninja, but having an extra screen is a very nice thing to have, so it doesn't have to be negative. Now there are, we talked about features that we wished that the S1H had. I would like to throw that around and talk a little bit about the Panasonic GH5, because there are quite a lot of features on the Panasonic S1H that I really love, that are software features, and that I really hope that Panasonic, either in the GH5 and GH5S or in the future GH6, would throw in there. And one of them is the ability, or like the way that you can scrub through videos. Now I don't have any video on this camera, but basically is that when you've shot a video on the S1H, you get like a long line for scrubbing the whole video. Basically like you have the long line in QuickTime Media Player on VLC. So you can like scrub through your video really fast. And I know that the Blackmagic cameras have that feature. On the Panasonic GH5, you don't have that. You can just use your buttons here to fast forward, and that's not as accurate. So that's one thing. Another thing is The S1H has a few tally lights. It has one on the front, one on the back, and one on the screen as well. And after using the S1H for the past month with those tally lights, I always know when I am recording and when I'm not recording, and that's such a killer feature, because on the Panasonic GH5, so many times I've been believing that I've been shooting and looking for the footage afterwards, and I see that I haven't been shooting. And sometimes I also have had footage from like my knees, and I'm shooting like either the sky or the ground. So that's a really great feature. I truly believe that they could add that in firmware, so that at least on the back screen you could add like the outlined screen to be red, as you can see on the S1H. Let's see if I could show that for a lot of people, because it's actually a big deal. No battery. Okay, that's not good. Too bad, guys. I just got out of battery. But that would be some killer features to get on the Panasonic GH5. Also, linear focusing would be great, because that works perfectly on the S1H. Okay, I do talk a lot, and I see that we have gotten a few questions. Does it eye detect? No, it doesn't. It does face detection very good, but no eye detection as far as we know right now. But honestly, Panasonic have come out with very good firmware updates in the past few years, so it wouldn't surprise me too much if they just said, oh no, we have eye detect. Because I think the technology is probably there, even though it doesn't have to be as fast because of the face detection. Have you found any cage that fits the S1H with the battery grip? So let's see, multiphoto .fi. I'm guessing that you're from Finland. I'm not sure about that. I know that SmallRig makes a cage for the S1 where you can have the battery grip. I'm not sure if they already have one made for the Panasonic S1H, because as I said in the beginning, I am using the Tilta cage, and the difference between the S1, S1R, and S1H is it is there because of the thickness of the camera, but also because of the screen that they do have, that is a little bit bigger. So I'm not sure, but I've talked to SmallRig a couple of times, and they are very fast with coming out with new gear. So if you just throw them a mail and ask them about the cage for that, they will probably make that in a couple of weeks. When I talked to SmallRig last fall, I think they told me that from when they have like the finished design, it only takes 21 days for them to have like the finished products. So just talk to them; they are very fast. S1 cage doesn't supposedly don't fit. Yeah, that's probably accurate. I would say, because there is a difference in how it works. Now I have a video coming out on this cage on the Boostore YouTube channel that I've already shot, but I'm editing it right now. And on my own channel, I'm doing a video about the SmallRig, the whole setup there, and how I would use that. Let's look at some more questions, guys. I really appreciate all your questions coming in here. I'm going throughout because I know that people have left questions, some in different places. Now I know that I got a question about, is it, if because of the update that is coming on May 25th, should you get an Atomos Ninja V, so you could get ProRes Raw out of this? Is it worth the money? I can only talk about myself and how I view this camera. This camera for me could be like an A camera, or like a big brother to the Panasonic GH5, or like a little brother to like something like an Ursa, or more the Kinefinity that, as I said before, has a very similar color science. And in both cases, I think it's really nice to have something like the codec of the ProRes Raw. It is 12-bit. It is ProRes Raw, and to be honest, when you look at the price tag of this camera, it is around $4,000 in Swedish crowns. That's like 48,000 crowns. putting out some extra money to really unleash all the features, for me, it's a huge yes, I would think. Now I'm not sure that we know all of the features of the capabilities of the Atomos Ninja V, but I would say I would go for that anytime, any day of the week. I mean, ProRes Raw is something extra, I would say. It's my pleasure, Multiphoto. But as I said about the SmallRig, do mail them. They are very nice, and they answer the questions very quickly. Let's see here. We had another question. Cost for upgrade versus real world benefit. So okay, the cost for upgrade, well, it depends of course on what type of system you are shooting on right now. I'm guessing, because it's my channel, it's either the GH5 or maybe something like the pocket cameras. If it comes to the pocket cameras with the Blackmagic cameras, they are totally different cameras. Even though they look similar to these cameras, they are like proper cinema cameras. They don't have an EVF. They need like power supply in a different way. They are not as rugged, and but you get another type of image through those cameras than you get through these two cameras. Now for me, let's say that you have the Panasonic GH5 and you are a working professional. Are you a hobbyist? Then I'm not sure. If you have a lot of money, of course you could go and buy an S1H. But are you working with this? Are you making money of this? I would say yes. As I said, dynamic range is far and beyond the difference to the Panasonic GH5. Also, the ability to shoot 10-bit in slow-mo is also a big thing. So those two alone. And also a third thing, it takes literally no time to grade the footage out of the vlog that comes out of the Panasonic S1H. On the GH5, I've shot on basically every picture profile just to get like the perfect image. And in the end, I shoot a lot of the natural profile in the natural profile. But on the S1H, I almost always shoot in the vlog. Sorry, guys. Because of it's so easy to grade. So yeah, only those things are like worth the upgrade. Now looking at the money, at least in Sweden, you can almost get 2.5 GH5s for the same price as you can get an S1H, which is actually quite a big difference. Also, when you look at the lenses, now this is a 24-70, you can get the similar lens for the Panasonic GH5 for more than half the price. So you're not only looking at the price of the body, but you're looking at the price of the whole system, because the S Pro line of series are quite expensive, even though they are great. So there are some things to think about. When it comes to photography, I think the difference there is probably bigger, because in photography, it's more important to have the ability to isolate your subject than in videography, because you can do that with motion as well. So for photography, I would probably go with the full frame, even if it's though a bulkier system. If you're a landscape photographer, I would go with the GH5 still. But both are great, and of course it will depend on which type of videographer and photographer you are. Ghost Appy asks, would you say that the S1 is a decent budget alternative? I've shot quite a lot with the S1 as well, and I wouldn't say it's budget, because it's still quite expensive. There are some, I mean, the S1 is a very, very nice camera, and there are some features that won't be in that camera that you have in the S1H. The tally lights are quite important. That you don't have. You will not be able to shoot ProRes Raw. So there are some things there that are lacking, but yeah, I would say that it's a very good alternative to the S1H. If money was an issue there, and it's, at least in Sweden, it's almost half the price of the S1H. And I wouldn't say that the S1H is twice the good camera, like twice as good as the S1. So the S1 is a very good alternative. However, you have to look at the lenses as well, and even though you save money on the body, the lenses will be the same price. So yeah, but the S1 is a great camera, and you basically have the same dynamic range there. So if you are shooting and you have like the V-Log, you will get the same dynamic range. I don't think that the S1 has the all-eye codec though, so that's a bummer as well. But yeah, a great camera that as well. So you're a videographer, primarily wedding and corporate. Currently a Cam XT3 G85. Okay, thanks for the info there, Ghost Appy. I mean, those the XT3 I haven't shot with that camera, but I've heard very good things. And the G85 I have shot with that camera. They are great alternatives. Howdy, White Elephant. I'm guessing that you're from Texas when you say howdy. There are great cameras, or the XT3 seems to be a very good camera. I will be trying out, because I have talked to Fuji here in Sweden, I will be trying out the XT4 either tomorrow, or tomorrow's Thursday on 1st of May, so probably next week I will be shooting with XT4, so that will be my first, how do you say, it will be my first time on a Fuji camera, so I'm really excited about that one. I'm gonna be making a video about that, on how I feel using a Fuji, just to try it out. So yeah, and the G85 is a very underrated camera, because I mean, the image there is very similar to what you get from a Panasonic GH4 or a GH5. And the IBIS there is also very good, even though it's the first generation of IBIS. I'm gonna look at the other questions. I have to say, it's really fun to make like a live stream, even though it's my first time. So I think I've been answering more or less all of the questions as of right now. So if you have any questions for me, guys, just leave them in the comments. You're welcome, Ghost Uppy. So yeah, my impressions so far have been of the Panasonic S1H have been very nice, to be honest. The best question probably came from you, Ted, who asked me, "Is there anything you wish it had that it doesn't?" And to be honest, no, I can't. At least from the top of my mind, the only thing it could be cool that it had better autofocus. Maybe they will fix that in post. But there are so many good things in this camera that yeah, that I can't think so much about other things. But yeah, guys, I think that we're coming to an end from my first live stream. I will be doing more live streams on my YouTube channel from here, from Malmö, Sweden. And so the next one will probably be about the Fuji XT3, XT4, I'm sorry, and my experience with that, and how I felt coming from Blackmagic cameras, from the Panasonic cameras. And I also shoot a lot of Kinefinity, which is a great camera. One last thing that I would like to say is that how much I really appreciate the V-Log L in this camera. I can't say that enough, because the image is truly wonderful, and it's almost worth the money, just that upgrade. Do you offer any paid time for some FCPX tips and tricks from Nick Pixel TV? And Ted is asking me if he can borrow the camera. Of course, Ted, you can just come and get it right now. You live like 3 minutes from here. Do you offer any paid time for some FCPX type tips and tricks? Well, Nick, I haven't done that so far, and I wouldn't feel good doing that, but I am gonna. I know Ted has been on my back to make more tutorials about Final Cut Pro, because I've seen quite a lot of editors editing, and I know that there are so many things that I do on daily basis that could make a whole lot of gain. So let's see, Nick, if within the week I will make my first I will make my first tutorial about Final Cut Pro X and some tips and tricks and like that. So thank you for asking me about that. So guys, thank you so much for this live stream. As I said, coming to you from Malmö, Sweden. My name is Arbor, and if you have more questions for me, I'm gonna be now that I'm back in business, I'm gonna be more active both in the comment section but also on Instagram, where I tend to, or I try to answer all of the questions. Thank you, Ghost Happy. I'm also really psyched about using Fuji. I really love the look of Fuji. I mean, how it looks as a camera. So I'm really looking forward. I will be using. I know that they will be sending like the MK manual lenses as well. So I'm really looking forward. Maybe I will shoot a short movie on that, just for the heck of it. Thank you so much, Ghost Happy. So thank you everybody, and hope you liked this stream. And if you want me to make more streams and Q&As like this, I will make them. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and until the next time, bye bye.